Let's get talking now. Just yesterday, the National Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's headline inflation rate now stands at 24.08%. That's for the month of July 2023. While the federal government is also assuring Nigerians that there will be no further increase in the pump price of petrol, despite the deregulation of the product. These and other national burning issues we will be addressing on the first half of the show. And joining me to do this is the chief consultant with B. Adedikpe Associates Limited, Dr. Biodun Adedikpe. Dr. Adedikpe, it's always nice having you on the program. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tolu. Thanks for having me today.
I want to start with this analogy or understanding that the price of crude at the moment is on the high side. And we still have to import products. We have importers, oil marketers that want to import PMS. They need FX to do that. And we have issues with our FX, which we just liberalized or kind of opened up the market. So now I want to ask you, you understand this economy, of course, more than I do. Which comes first? Where are we with regards to saying that? Because if the price of crude goes up, it's obvious that the landing cost will go up. So please help us understand some of these issues.
All right, thank you so very much, Tolu. I think the first thing to understand here is that the pump head price of petroleum products, 80 to 85% of that is accounted for by the landing cost of refined petroleum products that we import. So which means as soon as the price of refined products go up in the international oil market, that portion of the price we are looking at will also go up. That means there's a natural markup in the price. So which means really, we have nothing we can really do in terms of control if we go with the market as we have done. So which means then that even if government cancels all the charges related to imported petroleum products before it comes to the pump head, we still have only 15 to 20% maximum reduction in the price. Okay, so which means in essence that whenever the price of crude oil is going up, incidentally, even Nigeria is benefiting from that on one hand, except that we are not getting the full benefit. The latest check I made on Nigeria's premium crude burning light was at over $88 per barrel. That was 2 days ago. Okay. Now, at that price, it means if you compare to refined product, what that comes to per liter, the price also will go up, which means the landing cost, if you import refined products, would also go up by that portion. So given that, don't forget also, you are importing. It means if there are high inflationary pressures in the country you are importing from, that also will be a factor that gets into the price you are receiving the products. So in which case, ultimately, in an era where the market determines what to pay for refined petroleum products, the price will go up or down depending on what happens in the international oil markets. So once we get that, then comes the issue of FX. FX is inescapable between the two major elements in the price you and I pay at the pump head are one, the price of refined products internationally, and then two, the exchange value of the naira. So the naira keeps losing value, and those who import refined products have no access to dollar at a reasonable rate. Let me put it that way. But it's something we still talk about. It then means that the price you are looking at the pump head will continually respond to the exchange value of the naira and then the price of refined products internationally. That's the way it is.
It's a very brilliant way to start, but I will follow up by saying, Doc, petroleum deregulation, foreign exchange unification, naira unification, or whichever way we're looking at it, all these issues, analysts have said, follows active ingredients that have been on for some time, a lot of distortion that we've had before now. So some say it might not just be a tea party. The new present government might not be able to address this overnight.
You see, my view about this is very simple and straightforward. I've been a part of this conversation for over 30 years. And I recall coming up with a terminology in 1993, where I said that what we're practicing in Nigeria was dirty deregulation. We simply meant then, and of course until recently, that NNPC was involved in importing refined products. And that as a government agency, you talk about the regulation and commercialization. We know two elements of what we call the Washington Consensus. There are 10 of them, okay, the Washington Consensus that came up in the late 1990s, which is what we are playing on now, is the outcome of what we call the new liberal, economist argument. Now, what it says is that government should please hands off. I say, okay, fine. If government hands off, it then means NNPC has no business importing refined products. That's the first thing. Now, secondly, for that to work efficiently, there must be, competition. That means the market is free for anyone to compete insofar as you meet the minimum requirements for imported products, all the chemical specifications and the rest of them. If you meet those, then you are free to play in that market, which means if that market works well, it is competition that will drive the price down or up, okay? But unfortunately, and this is the kernel of my argument here, the way we had managed the subsidy regime in Nigeria is more of fraud than subsidy in the real sense of it, okay? Now, subsidy simply means that the price determined by the market is not favorable, for economic agents generally, and can create a lot of distortions when it comes to macroeconomic variables and they're bringing it down to the micro level. And so government sees a need to intervene one way or the other. The intervention in the subsidy, but unfortunately, subsidy became a cesspot of corruption in Nigeria. So now, if we remove subsidy, it is because we have not managed it well. It doesn't stop government from intervening, all right? Which is why I'm also happy with the message put out that the president said 2 days ago that there is no intention to further raise the pump price of petroleum products. That's a good one. But how they will do that, I don't really know. But if they do that, that in fact is subsidy in a way. But that's the way it's supposed to work, okay? But we need to also deal with the fraud in that regime. And that means, as the president said in his address to us Nigerians a couple of days ago, that those who benefited from that strange opportunity, that's what I call it. A strange opportunity is what differs or departs from what we call the normal opportunity in the business world. So how do we deal with that? That becomes a big issue. I will leave that to later.
Leave that to later. Now, that's corruption. Doc, I want us to stay around that for some time. And for me as a layman, what I understand is that level of consumption on a daily basis has been a bone of contention. We've argued this for a long time. 60 million, 50 million, numbers being bandied around. And at the moment, fuel stations are telling us that demand has dropped. So actually, I think we need to come up with what is truly the level or the amount of liters we consume as a nation on a daily basis. Maybe then we start to put pen to paper and understand how much subsidy or what subsidy will be paid whichever way. But what do you think about that issue of level of consumption on a daily basis?
Thank you so very much. Now, we've handed around so many figures. Currently, we say that we are around 43 million liters per day. As you rightly said, we've dealt with 60-something million when NNPC was the sole importer, came down to 50-something million per day. And then you ask yourself, how do we even calculate this consumption? It's simple arithmetic. How many vehicles are on the road per day throughout Nigeria? It is data that is readily available. Okay? So what is the average consumption of fuel per vehicle? Talking about average now, not saying, the outliers that consume so little or so much, but what is the average? Multiply that average by the number of vehicles on the road, that gives you a rough idea of the volume we consume per day. So if there's now a claim that we are importing more than that, it means there's a question mark in that particular regard. Now, this is simple arithmetic. And what I did simply was this. Now, for many years, and I'm not talking about it the last 8 years, the last maybe since 1999 to date, maybe even before then, we had always provided 450,000 barrels of crude oil per day for domestic refining. All right? Now, if that figure was not actually refined domestically, then we've had the argument that that was also done treated in a swap arrangement. If it's a swap arrangement, that means the basic crude is actually available for domestic consumption. So at what rate does a barrel of crude oil convert to refined products? Take only PMS out of all that. What we get out is almost 71 million liters and that is per day. So if we have that provided domestically over the years, unfailing year after year, the data is publicly available, okay? This is not an estimate by me. It's publicly available. So that means that there is a big question mark to be raised there. Because if truly that figure, as it's provided and communicated to the public, is what NMPC deals with, then we shouldn't be talking of subsidy figures in the humongous sum that we're hearing repeatedly. What we'll probably be hearing will be the difference between transportation, clearing, and then local movement of the products. And that would amount to much in actual fact. So you'll be talking about just some billions of naira, not trillions that we have had. So that I would recommend to the present government to investigate. There's a whole lot that is happening in that regard. So what have they done with that 40,000 barrels per day? Always provided for domestic consumption. And let me also drop this there, that usually when you take a production figure, whether high or low, the first charge they have made is always that 40,000 barrels. They take it out. It is the balance we now record as export. Go and check the data. Maybe the last 20, 25 years or longer. It's the same figure, steady every year, except in 2021, when it was 430, thousand barrels per day. And then January to March this year, later data available, that is lower than 450. But it's a steady figure, year after year. So the question is, what have we done with that? So if that is truly available, then we can't be talking about the kind of figures that NMPC put before us as subsidy.
Interesting. I think that is something that really needs to be tackled, at least, so that we know what we're paying for. Now, let me also ask, really getting interesting. The CBN came up after meeting with the president, that's the acting governor, saying that they're going to deal with speculators. They'll get their fingers burnt. They're going to look for a way to intervene. That word intervention is what many analysts have picked up again. So what sort of intervention are we expecting from the central bank that can help bridge this gap? It's not looking good, the disparity between the regular market and the other market.
Excellent question. Now, some 21 years ago, that was November 2001, I was a guest of the Central Bank of Nigeria at the International Monetary Conference the bank holds annually. And I was invited to interrogate the relationship between the exchange value of the naira, interest rates, and of course, inflation rate. Then we had not adopted inflation targeting as the central mandate of the central bank in Nigeria. So the idea then was, which of these three should central bank take as very important and fundamental? And I made an argument that has not changed today. Remember, I said 21 years ago. Okay. Now, the argument was simply this. If you look at our data historically, and let nobody deceive you that there's no data in Nigeria, that's a fallacy. The data from 1960 to date, all right, about this economy. It's a matter of where you go that will determine whether you get it or not. Now, if you look at the historical data, you discover that every time inflation rate in Nigeria ticks up, it is because the naira lost value against our major trading currencies. So, and it is also become a part of our culture, so to say, that a regular merchant will increase the price of what he sells or what she sells once he or she gets the news that naira has lost value in the parallel market. Unfortunately, the World Bank and IMF takes that position as well. And I use the word with every sense of responsibility. I've been a staff of the World Bank before, okay? Now, it is wrong in perspective for the World Bank and IMF to make reference to parallel market rates for determining the exchange value of the naira. And why do we say that? Now, that market itself, parallel market, is shallow, all right? Now, the official window is deep. That means in terms of volume. Which means two major things here that will change the narrative. And that is what I think the CBN acting governor is driving at. Number one is supply through the official window. Now, if there's an increase in supply through the official window, that of course means more transactions will be done in that window. The more that happens there, the less people go to the parallel market. So that will reduce the demand at the parallel market. That's one. Then secondly, apart from the supply, what are those requirements that make the official market accessible. So those are the arguments: availability of FX and then accessibility of the market. So now, if you have those two combined, then you have more merchants and, of course, manufacturers and the rest of them, other agents in the economy, have access to dollars at the official window. Once they do, then the pressure in the parallel market will subside. And of course, the parallel market will always respond to demand and supply. Okay? So their own rate will also come down. That was what played out in the last 2 days, as we reported earlier. Okay? The rates at the parallel market before that pronouncement by the acting governor of CBN was over 900 naira to the dollar. But as of today, we're talking about 790 naira to the dollar. In some markets, I even here today, it is 750 naira to the dollar. So in which case, mere announcement of a direction that the market senses is pragmatic and responsive. That is why the market is reacting that way. And by all means, speculators be in trouble. Because if that much gain was made by Naira in 2 days, that means the pressure driving the exchange value of the Naira in the last couple of weeks is mostly from speculators. Because that massive appreciation by the Naira cannot be explained in any other way than speculative pressure in that market.
Where do we go from here? Let me just handle it that way. Let's wrap it up in that way. Doc, where do we go from here? A lot is in the plate.
Yeah. For me, when it comes to the exchange rate, I will recommend very strongly. We have tried so many models in the past. We started this idea of, having the market determine the exchange value of the Naira on the 26th of September, 1986. All right? And since then, we have tried different variants in terms of models for that market. So, but what I also see, and I want to also put pay to a fallacy by many analysts, it is very wrong for anyone to criticize central bank as defending the Naira. And why do I say that? That is one of the fundamental mandates of any central or reserve bank anywhere in the world. No central bank or reserve bank will leave its currency to float freely with the market. It's not done anywhere. So the role of the central bank or reserve bank, as the case may be, is to defend their own domestic currency. It's only in Nigeria here analysts say that CBN is wrong defending the Naira. So now, how do we do that? The way for me, and that is what I strongly recommend, is what we have practiced before in 1989, managed flows. Managed flow simply means that you see where the market is taking the price to, and then CBN steps in after seeing what the market is indicating, and now puts a rate at which the market, for that day, the rate at which we trade. We've done it before. It's not rocket science. We can do it again. So in which case, you cannot freely float Naira in an environment where the supply of foreign currency is limited. Our economy is largely import dependent. We have a weak export sector. So to that extent, we need to manage that value of the Naira. And because also it affects every other element in the economy. And that is my own perspective to this. So CBN, the presidency, should not leave the Naira to the market. It's like putting somebody like me, an amateur, to now stand in the boxing arena and fight the heavyweight champion of the world. Imagine putting me beside Joshua. If I agree to that, that is suicidal. If you people force me to do that, that means you want to commit murder. Because clearly, the strengths of the currencies are not at the same level. So the weaker one needs to be protected.
Yeah.
And that is my view about this.
Thank you so much. We can go on, and this 1 hour won't be enough for us to wrap up this discussion. But Dr. Adedipe, I must thank you. Dr. Biodun Adedipe is Chief Consultant, B. Adedipe Associates Limited, renowned economist. Thank you so much for enlightening us and educating us on this very topic of discourse. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so very much, and thanks for having me too.